It is, oh my gracious, it's the date of 5th, 4th? It's February 4th, 2025, Mainland Planning Commission, scheduled Mainland Planning Commission. And what we need to do is start with our invocation and pledge. All right, everybody bow their heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray to you today for your grace and your forgiveness and our shortcomings. We ask that you give us knowledge and compassion to make good decisions for our community. We thank you for all the blessings that you have provided for Glenn County and its citizens. Jesus, we pray to you because you are the great I am, and you alone can make all things happen. Amen. Amen. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, folks. To start with, I need to go over the meeting procedures, and they are written here for me to read somewhere. The planning staff presents the application request to the Planning Commission during the staff's report. This report evaluates how the proposal conforms to Glenn County zoning ordinance and other applicable regulations and conforms to the comprehensive plan when applied to zoning matters and ordinances. Applicants shall have the opportunity to present their request to the Planning Commission. It is the responsibility of applicants to make presentations on request and to address all conditions or factual findings which they do not agree. The public hearing portion of this, the public comments on public hearing items will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side, with a maximum of 5 minutes allocated to each speaker. Comments are limited to relevant information regarding your position and should avoid being repetitious. If your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual to present your group's position in the allotted time. The applicant may then provide a rebuttal to any testimony. The chairman may terminate testimony if it becomes repetitive. The chairman will terminate a speaker's time if the speaker begins personal attacks. Your cooperation in this process will be greatly appreciated. I don't anticipate any of that tonight, but I would like to remind everybody we all are neighbors, and let's be cordial to each other, because next week we may see that person in the grocery store, and we certainly would like to be able to speak to them and not have to change aisles real quick. So let's keep that in mind. We always want to be cordial and pleasant. All right, Planning Commission announcements. Don't have any. All right, we got a couple plaques to give for recognition of service to a couple of commissioners that have moved to greener pastures. Let's start with Mr. Bill Edgy. Bill, come up. It's kind of amazing that I'm presenting this plaque to this gentleman. He is one of the people that helped me so much as a planning commissioner. He reprimanded me and he scolded me and he told me when I was doing good and when I was doing bad, and I greatly appreciate him. You have been such an asset to the Mainland Planning Commission and also to Glenn County. And I know you'll do well at the Joint Water and Sewer Commission, and thank you for your service to Glenn County. Yes, sir. Thank you, Bill. All right. This young lady has a special place in my heart also. She, her and Bill both invited me once a month when I first became planning commission to a little special meeting they held, and they taught me the ropes. They told me what to do and what not to do and what to look out for. And Miss Sherry Gibbs, some of her family members have fallen on hard health times, and she had to leave the Mainland Planning Commission because of it. And it's really sad to me that she had to leave because of that, because she was such a wonderful commissioner. And Missy knew Sherry could not be here tonight, and Missy is going to accept this award for her. And this is to Miss Sherry Gibbs for service. She was also the chairman of Mainland Planning Commission.
You're going to confuse some people.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I know she appreciates it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bill, are you really going to sit here through the whole meeting?
I miss you guys.
Bless your heart. Well, we're glad to have you, sir. Thank you for coming. All right, we're going to get to general business now, folks. Is there anything I've forgotten, y'all? I don't think so. What we need to do is we need to approve the minutes of the Mainland Planning Commission meeting held on January 7th, 2025, subject to any necessary changes or corrections.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval of the January 7th, 2025 meetings as submitted.
Okay, I got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, that is 7-0. So our minutes passed. All right, the first item on the agenda, 1.2, ZM-24-25, Washington Street rezone. Consideration of a rezone of 6 lots located on Washington Street for general residential to Planned Development District. Property is located at 2115-2117, 2119-2121, 2123-2125, 2127-2129, 2131-2133, and 2135-2137. Washington Street, parcel 03-08187, 03-08186, 03-08185, 03-08184, 03-0813, 03-0812. Jenny Kettles, the William Ligon firm, is the agent for Pallet Menders Incorporated. And this public hearing was held, for this item was held on January 7th. And I hadn't really made up my mind yet if we're going to have another public hearing or not. When we get to that portion, I'll talk to the audience to find out. So, all right, Ms. Stephanie.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioner Stephanie Leaf, Planning and Zoning Director. As the chairman stated, y'all did have your public hearing at the last meeting, and there were a few items that were discussed by the Planning Commission at that time. It was deferred to tonight's meeting. A couple of the items, they were brought up both by commissioners as well as members of the public. But we did look at, or we did discuss the density of the units, going from 6 to 12 is what the request is. This current plan development text does not include any parking on the site, and so there was discussion about whether there should be off-street parking required, or should there be, potentially, spaces in the right-of-way. And then I know there were members of the public that brought up some concerns about drainage on the site, and so I did want to bring up any concerns about drainage, if this project is approved, it will be required to have subdivision approval from the county in order to go from the six lots to 12 lots. And so at that point in time, there will be construction plans, which is the civil engineering drawings, that would be reviewed by county engineering staff. And so those concerns would be reviewed, during that phase, and we'd have more details on that.
Ms. Leaf,
Yes, sir.
we have technical folks. We have some ringing coming through our microphones. I think, I tried to turn this microphone off, but it would not go off, gentlemen. Can the audience watching TV hear us properly?
Yeah, they can. I was working on fixing the room.
You was, okay, you was working on it. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Leaf, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. And so I did, and then I wanted to mention about the parking. I've talked with the applicant since the last meeting, or the applicant's agent, and we've also had some internal discussions with our Public Works Department as well. And so I was going to kind of update you a little bit on the parking. And then I did take some photos of the site, and this was just a couple days ago, so you can see that they did receive building permits for 6 units, which is allowed by right on these lots. And so at the back of each lot is where they were constructing the unit. So this is what one of them looks like that's almost completed. And then these are framed up, as you can see. And what we looked at was potentially having, internally we talked about potentially allowing parking in the right-of-way if that is the way the county would like to go. There were some initial concerns, and there's still concerns about making sure the right-of-way is not impeded and the travel lane is not impeded, and that stormwater is not impacted by people parking in areas. But what we discussed was that there is adequate right-of-way that's not improved between the travel lane and the property boundaries, that if it is the interest of the county to allow no on-site parking but allow some parking in the right-of-way, there could potentially be some angled spaces or another configuration that could go into this location here. So it's about 180 feet in width along this right-of-way, and the depth is about 30 feet. And that's not surveyed, but just based off of our mapping, it's about 30 feet is what that depth is there. It would need to be improved so that we do have stormwater taken care of through there, and that it would be paved parking. But I just wanted to share that there has been some updates to what the county would be potentially considering. And also just kind of for your information too, I did check with the city. Oh, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, I did check with the city, because there's a couple other projects, the Veterans Village and the Reynolds cottages, and there's another project that was in the city that were kind of these tiny homes for a similar demographic. And for the Veterans Village, they actually have in their plan, they have a plan development text for that as well, and they actually have in there that the lots cannot have, or these homes cannot have vehicles. So that's written into their PD text, because they also don't have any parking allocated for those. And so those are just kind of some of the updates. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know Ms. Ginny Kittles from Ligon Firm is here representing this applicant.
All right, commissioners, we got any questions for Ms. Leaf?
I have a quick question, so, that I didn't think of until right now, when I saw you put that up there. So if they do improve parking in the right-of-way, anyone can park there?
That is correct. I mean, there could be an agreement that it's signed for only the residents of these units, but that would be a little tougher to enforce. I mean, someone would need to, register a complaint with the police department to enforce it, but there could potentially be signs out there saying it is for just those particular units.
And has the county ever done that somewhere else?
Not to my knowledge. The only one that I could think of that we had done was in the Pier Village. There was one of the buildings there had put a residential unit above, and there was a right-of-way agreement to allow, and I think it was only like maybe 2 or 3 parallel parking spaces along one of the roads there.
So you would have a right-of-way agreement with
Correct.
them, and it could
Yeah,
then
they would
be
have a right-of-way
enforced by the
permit.
police? But somebody could park right in front of that property today. So.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. They could today.
Okay. Do we have any sense if there is a lot of right-of-way parking in that area? based on
Yeah,
the lot size?
I mean, I drove through a few of the blocks to get a sense of that, and there is some, but a lot of the lots are a little bit bigger, and so the homes are set back more. I mean, so for the most part, it looked like cars were parking on the properties. It may have been in the lawn or in grass, but it was on the properties, not as much parking on the right of way,
Okay,
at least when I drove through.
okay.
And I do have a question to Stephanie. Just a few months ago in the city, I actually had a permit that I had to pull for a job personally. And in the process of getting the permit, I was informed by the building inspector that we needed to show on the plans space for one parking. And this was a single family, and it was a little bigger actually than what you're showing here. But I was just wondering, in that area that you identified for the right-of-way possibly being parking, how many cars could you get in that space? Because if, say for instance, you just did one vehicle per residence, and they wanted to do 12 residents there, you would need at least 12 parking spaces, right?
So the county regulations are actually 2 parking spaces per unit, so there would be 24 that would be required for this project if you were going to go by the county's ordinance. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of the rough look, I mean, you've got like 180 feet to work with, and a parking space is, you know, anywhere between like 8 and 10 feet wide. So, you know, that's kind of what you'd be sort of looking at.
So just from looking at it, just from the computer screen, it looks like there may be, I don't know, maybe about 4 to 5 cars, 4 to 6 cars possibly that you can squeeze in there?
It depends on, yeah, how we configure it. I mean, if it is just parallel parking, then yeah, that's probably accurate. If we do something like an angled space, then I mean, I think you could do potentially like 12 spaces in this area with the angle. We'd have to really take a look at that and see exactly what you could fit in there, but. But yeah, because the length of a parking space is like 18 to 20 spaces. I'm trying to think, I think a parallel, I don't know if Gary, do you remember offhand a parallel parking space? Is that about maybe 20 feet? Straight in? Okay. All right, so if we just do like, if they would do a straight in parking, then you said 8.5 feet? 21, okay, yeah, 21 spaces if they're like 8.5 feet wide, and that's just pull in straight parking, not an angle or parallel. So there's, you know, a few different options that could be potentially looked at.
All right, Commissioners, any other questions?
I don't know that I have a question, but a comment, and I was going to ask a question Missy mentioned earlier, but I guess I think it's project, affordable housing, that sort of thing is great, but the setting the precedence, I guess, of allowing parking in a public right-of-way, the next group that comes up, and, you know, we allow them to do it. But like I said, I think this is, like I said, affordable housing, something that's needed in Glynn County, and not sure how I'm going to go on it to tell you on this. It's tugs both ways.
Well, Commissioner, the only thing that I would elaborate on that about the parking in the right-of-way, there's tons of cars parked right now on St. Simon's in the right-of-way.
There are.
There's as many probably parked in the right-of-way as there are on people's driveway. So just take that into consideration.
But you can't use right-of-way to meet your parking requirement.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I
it's
understand
more
that.
kind of just because they paved it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Commissioners, any other questions for Ms. Leaf? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, could we have the applicant or the agent step forward? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All right, state your name.
I'm
Please,
Jenny
ma'am.
Kittles. I'm with the Ligon firm.
All
I'm an
right,
attorney.
perfect. All right, commissioners, what kind of questions we got?
Can I ask a question, maybe outside of the normal zoning question, but they had made mention about future. So these residents move in, they live here, they buy the property. How does that convey?
Good question, and we're working on that aspect of it. We're trying to get past first base before we
Just curious.
took too much energy in that direction, but we're exploring perhaps a right of first refusal. We're looking at a nonprofit that might manage this property so that it's not just left to the four corners of the globe to manage itself. Maybe putting some light restrictive covenants. This project is truly for those that cannot afford traditional housing. And we do not expect there to be vehicular ownership. And they will not be allowed to have on-site parking, as you see in the PD. The PD was recently updated. I did post it last week with an updated text to show that there's already been a right-of-way permit granted for this project. And it entails what was applied for on this site plan, showing the 3 pads, which will probably be gravel. And that, you know, looking forward on that, and I know that's getting aside maybe from your question, but my understanding is that the normal parking space is 8.9 maybe to 9 or 10 feet wide. Each one of those gravel pads is 40 feet wide. That, to me, can accommodate 4, 4, and 4, which is 12 spaces. And our idea is that that would be perhaps somebody coming to pick up a resident, taking them to the doctor, bringing UPS package or something maybe. That's very temporary, no overnight. So that's something we're looking at long-term, maybe putting into some kind of RCs, or as we discussed with Stephanie, is possibly putting some signage, no overnight parking, and then utilizing the county ordinance arm and hammer to enforce that if parking became a problem. I don't know if that's something that may be addressed over on St. Simon's, parking in a right-of-way or something, but we are looking at dealing with that potential problem. But as that first generation will probably have some restrictions. Maybe they're deed restrictions, which we carry. Second generation ownership gets trickier, and I'm not sure we can control. And we certainly can't necessarily control beyond the grave. If we get a resident in there who's needy, who we're trying to help, and they die, you know, I'm not sure that the county's expecting us necessarily to go beyond and say, well, their heirs, the estate can't sell it then for fair market value. You know what I mean? So that's something we're going to look at when we get to that subdivision phase. I don't know does that help answer your question?
It does. It just helps to quantify that it's not going to become a commonplace occurrence to have these lots subdivided, 12 units going in. And,
I can't
it's
speak
just-
to that.
No, I understand. I was just asking the question.
Yeah. If this does well and the community benefits from it, I'd like to see more of it. I would hope everybody would, if it's a benefit to the community, as we hope it is.
Thank you.
Anything further?
All right, commissioners, any other questions?
I have one
All
quick
right.
one. So if you had a right of first refusal, you have mortgages on them and it gets foreclosed on. It's gonna be sold on the courthouse steps. So the right of first refusal is not gonna apply.
We can perhaps build some language in with the loan. I have not gotten into that level of it yet, but I agree that there could be some problems with that scenario.
I just think there's probably, you know, I know the right intentions are there for the project, but there's I'm sure plenty of investors that would like to own this product.
And first generation, obviously, the developer has so much control,
Right.
and you're looking at beyond
Right.
that, I understand. We can explore some safeguards in that regard, but at this point, I'm not quite that far down with the project
Right.
on that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kittles.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Garrett, did you want to say anything?
Forgive me if I cover ground that Ms. Kittle's already covered, because I don't hear very well, and I didn't understand a word she said.
Mr. Garrett, please state your name for us first.
My name is Marshall Bruce Garrett. I'm the owner of Pallet Menders Incorporated. I did understand the question that Ms. New asked, and that was, what about investors? I have 5 investors that want to purchase this property right now. The answer to all of their question is no. The only person who own that property is myself or a person who lives there. And those people who live there will be folks who are unfortunate that don't have the means to own anything else. When they own these properties, we will cut the grass, we will clean the yards, we will clean the porches. We'll see to it that it's a place that doesn't create blight for the neighborhood. I did understand, I sort of understood the question about continuity. We will have a company managing the property, and we will have a succession plan that it will continue to be managed by a company who's capable of doing these things, because these folks can't do it. I mean, they don't understand the need to clean their rooms. And I have 2 people that are on my payroll, one of which takes them to doctor's appointments, takes them to the hospital, takes them to grocery shop, does things of that nature, and I have another one who goes in and cleans the rooms. Some pay, most don't, because they just don't have the money or the means to do it. We try to encourage them to help us clean the rooms so they can learn how, but most of them don't know how to really learn. But they do have their average income is $972 a month. We are going to have first right of refusal if something happens to them and they move out of the house because of medical reasons or death, et cetera, then we will purchase the home back from them if that happens. And we'll pay fair market value, whatever that is. We're not going to try to take advantage of anybody. But we want it to be I want this to be a community. These folks gravitate towards each other. As you can see what happens at the well, they all pile up down there, and before it was outlawed, they slept on blankets on the concrete and did the best they can. And so we know that they're all going to get together. Well, we're trying to involve, we have involved community organizations like Meals on Wheels, churches and places that will get involved in their lives and not just you know what, it's one thing to live, to exist. It's another thing to have quality of life, to enjoy living. And, think about it for a moment. $972 a month, subtract rent from that, subtract the power bill and the water bill from that, and then they have to eat. And I, through my ignorance, thought that when these folks got food stamps that they got $300 a month, I've got one lady who gets $26, one who gets $38, so they don't really they have to use their cash to eat. And they go to food banks because we take them, and I have to send somebody with them who says, don't take that because you don't know how to cook it. Because what they'll do is they'll take anything they're given and then they don't know what to do with it. So we're providing assistance for them. We're providing a safe haven for them to live. a place that nobody's gonna take advantage of them because we're gonna keep their yards clean, their porch. Now, we're not putting flowers out there, but we're landscaping and having nice grass that we're paying for and keeping it cut and keeping it neat and clean so that it can be an advantage to the neighborhood. We've got engineers hired to show us what the drainage needs to be. I can't tell you the name of any of the 12 people I have picked out for these houses that I would want to be on the road if they were driving. I mean, there's no offense intended, but they just can't do it. Most of the traffic on that road is going to be Gateway pulling up to pick somebody up and take them to Gateway, or my truck pulling up there, a van pulling up there and taking somebody to take care of some of their needs. Any questions you have, I'll be glad to answer them, because we appreciate any support you can give us. We want to do more projects, but we're going to make sure in the future that we do our best to comply with county code and ordinance so that we don't go through this problem again. We'll make sure, but we need to do this if we can. And any questions you have, I'll do my best to answer.
Mr. Garrett, I do have a couple things I'd like to say. First of all, I don't think there's a commissioner sitting up here tonight that don't have sympathy for the for the folks that we're talking about.
From the folks I've talked to, I would wholly agree.
Okay. With that being said, I have a few issues that I would like for you to try to answer for me.
Okay.
When you sell one of these units to an individual, how are you going to regulate, when it gets 30 degrees outside one night, how are you going to regulate 45 people not staying in that one unit? I mean, that's what homeless people do now.
Well, they do.
Yes, sir.
But these people have been with me long enough to know that the first thing that happens when they move a second person, and I have that situation now. I have a new tenant. He moved 2 people in with him, and I've evicted them. And he said, well, they're my friends. I said, well, the next person to be evicted is you if you let more people come in. And what I've taught them is when somebody moves in with you or wants to move with you, you say, no, you can't do that, but let's go talk to Mr. Bruce. And they come and talk to me, and in fact, we got a young couple now that we're addressing their needs to try to help them find a place. So it's through a process of
All right,
training.
that leads, every time I get one question answered, that leads me to 4 or 5 different other
okay.
questions. Mr. Garrett, none of us know how long we're gonna be on the earth.
That's true.
If you die, when you get this built, and you get every one of these things, people are staying in these units, and you die, what's gonna happen?
All right, my company.
Is it gonna be a situation that the neighbors are just gonna?
No, sir. I do a substantial amount of business. I've got over close to 200 rental properties. I use money from banks, personal money, and investors. And one of the questions an investor had about 3 years ago was, what are we going to do? What's going to happen to our money if you kick off? Which is a valid question. So what I did 2 years ago was I hired Clee Baker from Heritage Bank, who is branch man. I don't know what his title was, to be honest with you, Clee. But he was at Heritage Bank, and I hired him because I'm 65 years old. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon, but he is my succession plan, part of it. When something happens to him at a later age, he's going to move somebody in to take care of him. And we're going to hire people that sit in the saddle that have the same heart and same vision that we do. So I have a succession plan. Clee's the beginning of it.
All right. Now, this is more of a statement and not a question.
Okay.
All right. Every person in this courtroom tonight knows that there's a severe need for us to help our less fortunate people than we are. Okay. Everyone understands that. Everyone's read the news articles. And this is needed in Glenn County. Okay. I'm not confident, I'm not 100% sure that it's needed where we're talking about putting it.
Right.
But things like this are needed in Glenn County. And do you realize if this does not fly for whatever, if it doesn't make it for whatever reason, if it gets passed by, the commissions and you get 100% occupancy, and if anything happens that's gonna put a stain on any kind, and this kind of housing is needed in Glenn County.
Right.
No, there's no doubt in my mind that it's needed.
Well, may I
So
address that?
what I'm saying, Mr. Garrett, is do you realize the responsibility that you have in making this happen for future people, for the future?
I do. May I address that?
Yes, sir.
The people that okay, let me take a step back. There are fundamentally 3 or 4 different types of homeless and mental patients and people that have needs. There are those that it doesn't matter what you do, you can't help them. They just don't, they're not gonna listen. Then there are those who are mentally capable, but they don't have any money. Then there are those that have money, but they got a mental problem, and they're gonna fight everything you do. I mean, there's all kinds of people. What I have had to do over the years and over, 20 years, and I hate to use the word, but to a certain extent, I've had to harden my heart. Because I've had to recognize that you can't help all people. Some people won't be helped. I mean, for example, I got one guy that he won't be going there because has the money to go somewhere else. But he gets $3,500 a month from VA on the 3rd. You know how much money he has on the 4th? None. He gambles it away. So what I've done is I've carefully selected people that I know can live on their own in this type of environment that won't pose problems. And I've had experience with these people long enough to know that we can manage them there.
Okay. All right, commissioners, do we have any other questions for Mr. Garrett? Gentleman upstairs, my phone is blowing up from people that's trying to watch this on TV and they say they can't hear it.
Can you ask him to speak in a microphone a little bit louder? He's not talking in the microphone.
That's the issue?
Yes.
Okay.
I had it ganked up and then,
Yes, sir.
so I took it down to just a hair, but I don't have a lot of leeway to go, so he might be talking about it.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Garrett, I think that's all the questions we have for you.
Thank you for your time and
Thank you.
consideration.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, this is kind of, we had the public hearing on this on January 7th, but I would like to ask, how many people in our audience is in opposition to this project? How many folks would like to come forward and speak against this project? All right, that answers my question. We're not going to have another public hearing tonight. We've had it, and that portion of this is over. All right, commissioners.
You need to ask if anybody's in favor.
Is it, well, is anybody in favor of it? Okay. Okay, we've heard from both of you. All right, let's move forward. Commissioners, let's discuss it and talk about it. All right. No, go ahead.
Well, I just, Stephanie, y'all often make at least a recommendation on how y'all feel about the project and suggested changes. Do y'all have that on this? When I spoke to Ms. Garrett, I said that was one thing I was gonna, he felt like y'all had worked through some stuff that I was gonna rely heavily on. I think we all have a sense there's a need for this, and this creature is different because they aren't tenants. They are gonna own these units, which give them a lot of rights in Georgia. And so it's different to allow this level of density and lack of on-site parking. I get the right-of-way piece, but have you gotten more comfortable with it? Am I putting you on the spot? You can say, I don't want to have an opinion on it. I know that's a tough spot, but do you feel like y'all have made some good progress since last month?
Yeah, I would say say yes in terms of the parking, because we did have internal discussions about, because when we came to you all in early January, our county staff had a lot of concerns with any kind of parking in the right-of-way. So our worry was, okay, if there's no off-street parking on site, it's going to be kind of a haphazard parking situation out in the right-of-way, and that's really going to be destructive to kind of what's out there. And so we were concerned about that being the long-term kind of approach. But since we did have the meeting earlier this month, we did talk, and we're, as long as the applicants are willing to do, paved with improvements, parking in the right-of-way, and I know there's some cost concerns with that. So I think, their thought is to have gravel parking pads, but the county, would be, at this point, unless it changes, the county's recommendation is that it would be paved with, the improvements to make sure that we don't have any, future issues out there. So if that is the scenario that the applicants will do out there, then we are okay with that, and I think that does address some of the parking concerns out there.
Do you need us to address that it has to be paved, or y'all will handle that as part of the additional building permit?
We will handle that as part of the right-of-way permit, so that is permit the Public Works will issue, so they will mandate that. So it's really just as long as the applicants, are willing to do that. I mean, if they aren't, then that's going to be an issue, and we won't be able to issue that permit.
All right, Ms. Leaf, put our motion options up there, please, ma'am. Commissioners, I need a motion.
I have a legal question.
All right, talk to us.
So can this be contingent on either Mr. Garrett retaining ownership? I didn't realize I had two of y'all on there. Or that individuals meeting the set forth demographic taking ownership, but that if he attempts to sell it to a third-party investor, then you get where I'm going?
Yeah, I do, and I would say generally no, that would not be a condition that I would recommend for a rezoning. Just
Can we say they have to be owner occupied? Would that be a condition of the PD tax? That they can't be occupied until they are individually owned by their owner occupied? Or that covenants are put in place that say they have to be owner occupied?
Yeah, that was one of the conversations I had with the applicant too, is typically the county does not enforce, covenants because they are private, but would this be a scenario that if there were covenants that handled some of these concerns, could that,
right.
could the county
Stephanie,
then
you
have
got
more
Mr.
power in that?
You got
area?
Mr. Mumford's gears spinning.
I've seen it done in similar to that in terms of covenants being adopted in the PD text. I think it becomes tough when certain events happen to enforce private covenants, and I have seen or heard about those being incorporated into the PD text. I think right now we're talking about kind of abstract, that's the only covenant, or there can be other covenants in there.
Could you put that the initial occupants must be owner occupants to have this concession?
I think it becomes challenging from a zoning perspective when the zoning dictates whether or not it can be rented or not, or has to be owned by or occupied by the owner. And generally, that's something I would advise we stay away from in that straight line context, just because I think it starts to restrict what they can do with their property beyond just standard zoning requirements and restrictions.
What about requiring a deed restriction by Mr. Garrett before this has a final stamp of approval, that he puts a deed restriction that says, an irrevocable deed restriction, that at least the initial occupants must be owner occupants?
I think if the owner does things voluntarily and puts those things in there, that's and that's considered by the Planning Commission and by the county as far as when it approves those things. I think that's a fair consideration. But it'd be something I think that, the applicant would have to voluntarily say, I'm going to do this, and I'm gonna have the stipulation that I'm doing this, and that's, that is presented to y'all as something that's gonna happen, or you've seen that, or it's already happened. And that's gonna be something we'd have to time, but with any condition, or conditions generally, that are placed on rezonings, generally, I'm gonna recommend that the applicant, verbally, and in some cases in writing, accept those conditions so that there's no question that they won't come back and say, no, I didn't agree to that, and that's not the zoning I wanted. But as approved, and then you have really have a conflict. So I think we would have to work through those things more thoroughly to understand the applicant's, desire and willingness to do that, so we don't create a bigger problem if, the applicant says, I wasn't willing to do that. Because I think at this point, it's gonna be just I would say it's a yes or no vote as to what's before you. But that would take probably a little more coordination with the applicant to understand his willingness to do that.
Yeah, just my concern is, what can happen to all of us is tomorrow, I mean, this, once it's fully approved, Mr. Garrett could have a financial issue, he could get run over by a truck, which we don't want to happen to you. But, good intentions can go awry. I think if I would feel more comfortable, I'm just saying, I know you probably maybe can't hear me, but I would feel more comfortable with additional assurances that the occupants that are gonna be put in place, at least initially, have to be owner occupants. And if you can't find the people that can meet the guidelines of the program for the lending, they're gonna sit vacant. That there's no incentive to not find the people to own them, because I think that's the concern. It's not a nonprofit that's gonna own them like the other tiny houses where they can regulate, what happens. And, if there's this great need, that should be an attainable objective. But I don't know the answer to it besides y'all volunteering to put that in some kind of legal restriction on yourself.
Commissioner New, let's make the motion and let's send it to the county commission. Whatever,
Okay.
we
That's
need,
fine.
we commissioners, up or down, we need to make a move on this. And let's do whatever we need to do, whether it's a up or down vote, let's send it to the county commission and let them figure out exactly what Mr. Mumford and our county commission that really makes the decisions want to do on this. Okay, I think that's fair.
I make the motion. I move to recommend approval of ZM 24-25 with the following modifications: that it's conditioned on reaching a acceptable right-of-way agreement for the off-site needed parking. I so move.
All right, and I'd second that. All right, we have a motion. Did you get all of that down, Ms. Leaf?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I seconded it. All right, commissioners, all in favor?
Let me just make
Absolutely.
a comment.
Go ahead.
Before we get to the vote. I have a comment, it's a lot simpler than Commissioner News, but I'm still having a little heartburn from last month. This is so different than the rest of the neighborhood. To me, this is spot zoning, or spot rezoning. And, we heard from those established neighbors last month that have been there 60-plus years. And since then, since that meeting last month, I talked to some other residents and workers in that area who had the same opinion, that it's just so different. And there is a need for this, a great need. I just don't know if this is the place for it. And that's my 2 cents.
All right, Commissioner, with that being said, let's send it to the county commission and let them make the decision if this is the place for it. Whether this vote's up or down, let's take it, let's move on. Because I feel the same way you do. I could probably ask 50 different questions on this, and there's not very many positive questions I would have out of the 50. So let's just take a vote, let's send it to the county commission. They're the ones that can make the final decision anyway, between them and Mr. Mumford. And let's move on with this, okay? Any other commissioners got anything they want to say?
Well, Mr. Chairman, since you asked, I would just state my concern, which is pretty much the same as my fellow commissioner. I just don't think that it conforms to the neighborhood. Now, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Garrett some time ago, and we had a little discussion about some other issues. But in this particular case, I think that it's just a bit much. Now, Habitat is doing a subdivision in this same area, and I think that what Habitat is doing is very nice.
Habitat is doing it correctly.
Yes, but just to try to crowd so many homes into such a small area, I think it's just a little bit out of the norm for the neighborhood. So for that reason, I think the idea of helping the homeless is great, and I'm all in favor of that, and I think Mr. Garrett's heart is in the right place. But that would be my concern, and I would have to actually vote against it for that reason.
Yes, sir. All right, folks, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of Commissioner New's motion? All right, we got 4 in favor and all against. 3 against. So it passes 4-3. It'll go to the county commission now for a final yay or nay. And
Yes, sir.
we're done with that, folks. Thank the Lord. All right, let's move right along. All right, we're moving to the public portion hearing. 2.1, SP-24-31, Circle K site plan. Consider site plan approval for the new 5,200 square foot Circle K convenience store and fuel station at 101 McKenzie Drive, parcel 03-17641. The property is zoned highway commercial. John Prinz, agent for Scarpolosis Investments, LLC owner. All right, Ms. Leaf.
And just, Mr. Chairman, just as a reminder, I need to recuse myself from this vote. Is it okay if I stay up here, or you want me to get down?
No, you don't have to get down, ma'am.
Okay.
Just remember, if you accuse yourself, you can't make any comments. You're fine where you're at.
Okay. All right, so this is a site plan for the Circle K site plan, and this is up at the intersection of McKenzie and Highway 341 in the Sterling area. And you may have recalled a few months back, you all saw a conditional use permit for this project because the highway commercial zoning requires conditional use permit for automobile service station. So they are before you now with the site plan. And this is the property here. And this is their site plan. And so there's one outstanding issue just regarding GDOT and our county engineering reviewing the access. They have reviewed, there were some revisions that they requested. And so at the time of the site plan approval packet, going out to you all, that had not been resolved yet. But what we decided as a team was that we would move the site plan forward to the Planning Commission so they could get that underway. However, there's still the civil engineering plans and the construction plan phase that that our county and GDOT would be reviewing to make sure that everything aligns with the policies there. So that will be when we will capture that, and so we won't be able to approve the construction plans or a commercial building permit until all of those issues or questions are resolved. But other than that, everything is in compliance. And so here's the elevation, the Circle K that they've submitted, a few different renderings. And these are your possible motions, and I did add a suggested condition that access and roadway improvements are not approved and will be reviewed for approval prior to issuance of a commercial building permit. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And Ms. Sandy is representing the application, and she's here tonight if you have any questions of her.
All right, any questions for Ms. Leaf? All right, can we have the agent step forward?
Hi there, I'm Sandy Owens with MDM Services, here representing Circle K.
Okay. Commissioners, we got any questions?
On the south side of the property, on the site plan, is that for the semi-tractor trailers for getting diesel fuel?
Yes, sir,
Okay, so this is automobiles and
high-speed
large-
diesel.
Okay. And I guess my only concern was when they pull out to McKenzie, you have oncoming traffic that they have to pass through over there. It's not like you're gonna get a line of tractor trailers coming through or anything, but just the passing the incoming traffic also. You got two going out and one coming in, and that one coming in has to actually cross the one lane is all.
So the tractor trailers have to come in on New Jessup Highway.
Right.
It's one-way travel for them. So they exit on McKenzie and they go to the light. The tractor trailers are not even allowed to turn left. There'll be a sign there designating right turn only for the tractor trailers. So they'll come out and they'll make a right turn, go back to the light and go wherever it is that they were going when they came in.
No other questions?
Any other questions? I'm not voting for it unless you give free gas on Tuesdays.
You know, I think a couple of times a year, I feel like Circle K does give out gas cards. So you want to get their app, download their app to your phone, and they'll send out notification when they do that. And you'll also save 5 cents a gallon on every gallon of gas that you buy.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to open the public portion hearing of this. Do we have anyone in the audience that's in opposition of SP 24-31? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do we have anyone that would like to step forward and speak in favor of SP 24-31? All right, hearing none, seeing none. I'm closing the public portion hearing of this. Commissioners, talk to me.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve SP-24-31 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All in favor? 7-0 in favor.
And just a correction, that is 6-0 since Ms. New recused herself.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6-0. My counter's not working tonight.
Did we need to have that condition in there?
I mean, something that we will honor as staff, so it's just, I like to have those as conditions, just kind of extra coverage, I guess, but we'll be making sure of it at our level.
All right, so there's nothing we need to back up on to get that in?
No, you don't have to.
Okay. All right, let's move on to 2.2, SP-24-33, Saunders Landscaping Site Plan. Consider a site plan approval for a new 3,000 square foot storage building for the existing landscaping business at 3313 Glen Avenue, 03-07878. The property is on Highway Commercial. Jake Lemmings, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for ALC-RLC Family LP owner. All right, Ms. Leaf.
So this is a site plan for Saunders Landscaping, and they are an existing business on Glen Avenue. So this is just a little bit north of the Tourist Causeway. And so they do have their business that's been in operation. They just haven't had any permanent buildings really on site since they opened up there. And so here's just an aerial view of what the property looks like. So a lot of their materials that can be purchased there. And here's their site plan for where the building would be located. So kind of on the right-hand side is Highway 17, and then this building is towards the back. And this is a large property, but the whole rear area of the property is all wooded. And so they are showing a 10-foot type E buffer along Highway 17. And then they do have, there's a residential lot back here, but because the site is so large, they're not developing into this yet, so the buffer that's required is really just on the Highway 17 side, because they're leaving the rest of it undisturbed. This is zoomed in. This is their survey. This is the elevation they submitted for the building. And these are the possible motions, and Jake Lemmings from Robert Civil Engineering is here for this application.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leaf. All right, Mr. Lemmings. One thing I'd like to say before you get started.
Yes, sir.
I've worked across the street at the apartment complex for almost 2 years now while this business, Saunders Landscaping, is being built. I personally don't know Mr. Saunders, but it is very meticulously thought out, and it's very well planned. You can just drive by and look at that business and tell that gentleman is on the spot and a very good business person. So whatever he wants to do, I anticipate will look just like the front. So that I just wanted to say that, because
Yes,
he's
sir.
done a really good job.
Absolutely, yeah. And, yeah, this property, he's definitely, made it a good look from Highway 17, for sure. So, Stephanie gave a good overview. We're just seeking approval for a commercial building as shown here. It's angled toward towards 17. It's going to be used for his commercial business to be able to store equipment inside and various materials inside. And happy to answer any questions you have. Excuse me.
All right, commissioners, we've got any questions for Mr. Lemmings? All right. Thank you, Mr. Lemmings.
Thank you.
It's time to open the public portion hearing of this. Do we have anyone that would like to speak in opposition of SP-24-33? Okay, anyone like to speak in opposition? All right, we have hearing none, seeing none. We're going to go to anyone that would like to speak in favor of SP-24-33. All right, hearing none, seeing none. We're going to close the public hearing portion. Commissioners, let's get it done.
Mr. Chairman, I'm make a motion to approve SP-24-33 Saunders Landscaping Site Plan as submitted.
All right, I'll second that. All right, commissioners, we need a vote. All in favor? 7-0. All right, Mr. Saunders, have at it. All right, 2.3 SP-24-34. Hyundai of Brunswick site plan. This has been in the works for a long time, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I remember when I first came on the commission over 4 years ago now that we was talking about this.
That is correct.
Yes, sir. Okay. Talk to us, Chris.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christopher Carey, Senior Planner, Glenn County Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight, we have a site plan for Hyundai Brunswick. It is located at 5440 Altama Avenue, parcel ID 03-02145. The site is 5.77 acres and is zoned highway commercial. There is an existing dealership at the site, and the proposed building is one. So here's the site. As you see, there is the existing and additional cars that are already in place. The proposal is for a 19,000 square foot commercial building, car dealership, and associated infrastructure. The site was previously approved for a site plan, and that site plan has recently expired. So here's the existing dealership, and the proposed should be in this general location. And here is your site plan. And here are your possible motions, and Jake Lemmings is here on behalf of the application.
All right, we got any questions?
I do have one question, Mr. Carey. Now, which way would the new building actually face? Would it face Altama? I didn't really see.
It would face Altama.
Okay, all right.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Lemmings, we got to see you again, huh?
That's right. So you're right, this one has been here before, so we've gotten the site plan approval previously. The owner has changed. It expired from the 2-year, and the extension timeline had already been passed. So we're pretty much here seeking the same approval that we had gotten before. I can say with more certainty now, we're seeking to get a pre-con schedule with joint water and sewer. The civil plans are already done, fully permitted with the county, contingent upon this being approved. And the LDA actually came back from the state today, so they're trying to get going on this project here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll say it's not going to be another 2-year window for just sitting there. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Lemmings?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, it's time to open the public hearing portion of this. Do I have anyone that would like to speak in opposition of SP-24-34? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Could I get anybody to step forward that would like to speak in favor of SP-24-34? Okay. We're going to close the public hearing portion. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval for SP-24-34 Hyundai of Brunswick site plan as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, let's take a vote. All right, vote is 7-0. Ms. Leaf, some way, shape, or form, I don't know how I did this, but I didn't read all the particulars about the consideration of the approval. Do I need to read that now? Is that necessary for the public record? I don't know how I did that.
Oh, no, that's all right. I don't believe so. I think as long as you state the name of the project as you're starting.
Well, I did do that, but I think I went straight to you and didn't read all the information that was behind it.
Yeah, you're
So
fine.
we're okay?
And Mr. Chairman, if that's how you prefer to do it, generally, that's also fine. You don't have to read the entire agenda item every time unless it's just your preference.
You mean to tell me I've been... I'll second. All right, so we're through with that item, correct?
Yes.
We've got everything we need to do on SP-24-34. All right. Let's move on to 2.1, SP-24-35, Parker's Chapel Crossing Site Plan. Mr. Chris.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris Carey again. This site plan, SP 24-35, is for 4220 Highway 17 North. Location of the property is at 03-26655, and the property is 4.98 acres. It is on plan development, reference number GC-28-81. Site plans for automobile service station and with included 12 pumps. Here's the site. A little bit of background. So the plan development text for this property specifically references 707.3A. And if you see right here, 707.3 says conditional use, but skipping that language allows this to be a permitted use for this property. Here is the site plan. And here is it zoomed in. Here are the 12 pumps as well as the Parker's kitchen. And here's a conceptual rendering. And here are your possible motions. Jake Lemmings is here as well with Robert Civil on behalf of the applicant.
Chris, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And I just want you to clarify. Every other single gas station, I think I'm correct, that we've ever permitted, we've had to have a special use permit for that?
Quite a few of them have.
Explain to me why we don't have to on this one?
Yes, so specifically in this plan development text, it references 707.3A.
Okay.
So if it would have referenced 707.3, then it would be a conditional use. But since it skips this language right here and goes directly here, this doesn't apply.
Okay, so that stems from the text that it already has. I mean, you know, the classification that it already has for that property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Lemmings.
Jake Lemmings, Roberts Civil Engineering. So let me go back one here. So kind of where we are in the process right now, obviously seeking site plan approval. We've been working with GDOT and the county on the actual civil plan permitting for the intersection improvements to Chapel Crossing. So we've got the district approval on the plan for the intersection. We're going through the signal office in Atlanta, and we've just received some final comments from them to address, and so we'll have the GDOT permit here shortly on the intersection improvements. That'll be these deceleration lanes shown, as well as adding a fourth leg to the signalized intersection as part of this project. And then as you see, we have the Parker's gas station that's shown on the plan on the site here, and then the pond is going to be it's a master plan. So this parcel has this out parcel here, and then y'all see another site plan in the future for whatever comes here, and the pond's master plan to handle both developments. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Just knowing how noisy dumpster pickup and that it is located as close as possible to the residential area, is there any flexibility for that to be somewhere else?
Potentially, the issue is the setback requirements that we have, and then also the buffers that we have. We tried to stay within that area, so technically there's I guess a 20-foot buffer, and then it'd be walled around that with that type D dumpster. So we get pretty tight on trying to shift that around anywhere else just due to the buffer requirements.
Where the number 2 with the circle around it, are those parking spaces?
Those are parking spaces. Mm-hmm.
Do we have anybody from Parker's here tonight?
No, we have the landowner is here, but not from Parker's.
All right. I know we got a space between the landline and the gas station. Is there any way we could have to protect, I forget that, Missy, you can help me with this. I forget that subdivision.
Powers Landing.
Powers, correct.
Yeah.
I don't know how I forgot that. But is there any way we could give those folks some protection? And I know there's a buffer there already.
Right, yes, sir.
But is there any way we could put any kind of fencing up to protect those residents?
I can have a conversation with the Parkers, the buyer. I mean, I can't say for certainty right now if he'd be willing to do it or not. I know at this point we meet the site plan requirements, but I'd imagine he'd want to be a good neighbor, so I could bring it up to him. But I can't say for this at this point.
Well, I mean, as a builder myself, this is a very expensive project, and I wouldn't see where a $4,000 fence would cause an issue.
Right.
So that's just something that gives me heartburn is when I know it was zoned commercial, and it was probably commercial before those people ever built in Powers Landing.
Right.
But we still have to protect people the best we can.
And I believe there's there's an existing fence line on most of those properties, if not all of them, back there now. I can't say with certainty, but I know there's a fence line shown along in the survey on that residential. But I could bring it up to the owner, I just can't say.
Yes, sir.
So most of those houses in Powers Landing are built up a story, as I recall.
They are built
So
up
fencing will
considerably.
really help. I mean, it's not with the noise from a dumpster. So on the north side of the property, that adjoins a retail property, right?
The north side, I believe, is the
Or close
Dollar
to
General right now.
Yeah, so are you showing that as buffer and setback, or is that some kind of drainage?
So it's a 20-foot drainage easement that's actually, the deed goes back to GDOT, so technically we can't do anything in that area, which is why we show the offset from it.
All right. Now, I got another question. The proposed dumpster site, how do you propose, well, okay, I'm sorry, forget it, never mind.
Okay. But to answer your question, I can have the conversation with the owner. At this point, I can't say with certainty we can move it. It just gets kind of tight. But obviously, Stephanie, if the county wants to make that comment during the civil plan approval, then, you know, that's a way to make sure we can consider it, besides it just y'all coming to me and then coming from my mouth as well, so.
Stephanie, is there a ordinance of times that commercial properties that are adjacent to residential? I know that was an issue a long time ago with Winn-Dixie on St. Simons and Island Club and long time ago, but is there, I mean, can they empty that dumpster? I know they're not going to, but empty that dumpster at 3 o'clock in the morning?
So I know, I mean, the county has the noise ordinance. I'm not sure if, like, trash pickup would fall under the noise ordinance, or if there's anything separate. I
I
can't
know
think
at one
of it.
time y'all talked about like golf course equipment could only run certain hours. I just wasn't sure about
Right.
dumpster.
I don't think there's any comparable dumpster type restriction, but there is, you know, with yard equipment and stuff like that, and then other things that were presented as a concern. Certainly there's some restrictions on that, but dumpsters not to my knowledge.
Maybe that's the better question is, would they be good neighbors and not have their dumpster dumped at unreasonable hours? I mean, not that we're gonna put that as a condition, but I think you know, that's a tough one, because they're raised houses.
With the workforce we have in Glenn County, we're awful lucky to get them dumped in daylight hours, much less at 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, commissioners, any other questions?
Mr. Lemon, I do have a quick question. So the property is under contract. Now, is it contingent upon the site plan and all that being approved?
It is. It's contingent upon getting the site plan approval and also the GDOT permit as well.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Lemmings.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to open the public portion hearing of this. And this is 2.4 SP-24-35, Parker's Chapel Crossing Site Plan. Do I have anyone that would like to step forward in opposition of this? Okay, come forward, ma'am. Yes, come forward. You have to come to the podium. You have to state your name.
Hi, yes, my name is Erica Nelson, and I live in Bell Point subdivision, and it's right behind this gas station. And I have some concerns as far as it's gonna be like a 12 gas pump station. That's gonna be a lot of hazardous waste, benzene, it's going to be very toxic. And 12 gas stations, that's a lot, that's a big, gas station. And it's right, there is no buffer. It's like all those nice trees that were there, somebody just plowed them down. And so now all of the noise, you hear more noise into the neighborhood. And, I wish the trees could be back, but they can't. But, I just think it's too close to residential homes to have a gas station there, anything but a gas station. Because it's right in our backyard. Like if it was like, I think like the Georgia assessors, when they have the map and it's in color, and you can see the houses are just right there. So to me, it's still mostly a residential area, and I don't think that's a good place for a gas station. And then, right there, that intersection, ever since they put that light there, it's like accidents there all the time, right there on 17 and Chapel Crossing. So with a 12 pump station there, the traffic is gonna get bad, and my concern is, because it is right there on the marsh, and it's a coastal area, that having that gas and hazardous waste and benzene, that's gonna, increase cancer risk for us, and it's just not gonna be healthy for a gas station to be right there. And then there's a friendly, right less than not even 2 blocks, there's already a friendly gas station. It's a Dollar General on the corner, and then there's a friendly gas station less than 2 blocks from where they're proposing to build this gas station. So we don't need another gas station there, especially not one with 12 gas pumps.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, tell us your name again and give us your address.
Erica Nelson.
Okay.
I'm at 129 Sailfish Way, Brunswick, Georgia, and Bell Point subdivision on Highway 17.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do I have anyone else who'd like to step forward in opposition?
Hi, I'm Miranda Smith. I live at 60 Dan Lane. I'm a little north of this property. I am opposed to the site plan. I'm opposed to the process, the entire process of this property that's been violated, our county that has been violated, the residents. The staff packet states that the existing use is that of a billboard. The PD for this text does not show that a billboard, which is a very permanent structure, is an allowed use. And on top of that, it's clear that it's not even within the 10-foot, or it sits inside the 10-foot setback. There was never a driveway, construction driveway permit. There was never wetland flags. The state was not aware of any activity on the parcel. It's almost 5 acres. So the land disturbance, none of the permits were ever obtained from the Atlanta developer that decided to come to town and really just railroad the process through where many other developers in Glenn County sit and wait and wait and wait for the approval of Army Corps and everything else. The billboard sits less than 300 foot from all of the residences. She's correct, there are no trees. There's pine trees. Those trees don't grow thick. The PD text does show that on page 7, that any type of permit should be in compliance with the Georgia DOT requirements before a permit would be issued. The structure of the billboard was not that, nor has there been any type of public input on any of the process. There's specific uses that are on page 7 of the PD. There's also a 6-foot block or concrete wall that would protect the residences. I'm assuming that would go on top of the dirt berm buffer that's there. I'm not sure, but there is no protection from the homes that are sitting right behind there. I don't live there, but my concern is not with Parker's. He's a friend of mine. It has nothing to do with him. That's not my opposition. I just I feel that how are we supposed to reward this Atlanta developer from coming in and violating every single process in the stage of planning before coming here, and, you know, then having one day prior to the meeting for people to be able to research, or even you guys, like, you're obviously not familiar with this 13-page PD text. I've known about it for quite some time, and I don't know. It says site plans for each planned development area will be submitted for the approval before development prior to any issuances of any building permit of any structure within Mariners Cay. A certification of approval will be acquired. None of that's happened. So for those reasons, I'm in opposition.
Thank you. Ms. Leaf, did they get a land disturbance permit before from the county? Did they do the proper land disturbance permit before they started clearing that property? Being in that business, I find that very hard to believe. If you're off in the woods 5 miles and nobody knows about it, but as much traffic goes up and down that road,
Yes, sir.
nobody called and asked, did they have a land disturbance permit?
We did. So we had a clearing and grubbing LDA
Yes, sir.
from the GSWCC. We also
sir.
have a letter from the Corps for the environmental. So we do have all of that process. I can kind of go down the list of the couple of items if you'd like that were brought up here.
Those things were after they started and cleared it. They were stopped. Mr. Rosowski stopped the construction because there was no construction. They were coming in off Highway 17 with no construction, driveway, or anything. I pass by there every day. I'm the one that called the state.
You got it.
All right. All right, Ms. Smith. Mr. Lemons, finish, please.
So for the first lady that came up, so for the pollutants, the county handles that in their drainage requirements. So there's the water quality and quantity aspect of it. So the pond on site, all of the on-site detention is going to be routed to the pond. And so the water quality, you have to capture for the first 1.2 inch of, flush of the site. And so that'll be handled within the site. So the county does have those requirements in their ordinance that we have to design off of. As for the use out here, it's an allowed use right now, a gas station. I mean, we're not here for zoning, and we're here for the site plan approval, which we meet all of the ordinance and all the guidelines that were in the actual ordinance as well as the PD text. For the process of everything, we're here for the site plan approval to then move forward to the civil plan submittal process, and also we're working on getting the GDOT permit as well. So we're going through all the proper channels for that. And then speaking to the intersection, GDOT is obviously, this is a state route, so GDOT's been heavily involved throughout the whole process. And the district office has reviewed the intersection improvements, like I said, and we're in the final stages of getting that approval that we should have here in the next couple of weeks, which is a typical, we went ahead and started moving forward with GDOT even before the site plan approval process, which a lot of folks get the site plan approval process, then move forward to GDOT. So we're well ahead of the game there. Speaking to the buffers, there's a 20-foot type A buffer required for commercial residential on the back, and we show that. So any kind of plantings that are required as a part of that buffer, the developer will be required to do and include from that residential to commercial. For the billboard, I can't speak. I mean, it's an existing billboard. They're not proposing to put a billboard on the side or anything, so I can't speak to what was previously done. I'm not aware of that. And then, like I said, the clearing and grubbing LDA, I mean, you can pull it from the county. It's permitted with the county.
When was it issued, Mr. Lemons?
I'm not sure. It was a while ago. Do you know? Yeah, I mean, it was over a year ago, I believe. I mean, it was a long time ago. I wasn't involved in the clearing and grubbing, but I know we had it.
I just find this amazing, because I can't, get one of my tractors off a trailer before either the county or the state's wanting to know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's
They- You know, when we take our tractors off, they want to know, do you have all your permits? And I just don't see how that could happen on 17.
I called about it, so I'll just say that I had numerous people call me and said, what's going on there? And Stephanie, I don't know if I spoke to you, but, they reached out to the owner. My understanding is they reached out to the owner, and because the initial clearing area they did was under an acre or less, they didn't have to have that. And then my understanding is they got I'm assuming the correct permitting to clear the rest. Now, I don't know about the construction entrance piece, or I was also not at the billboard meeting. I was not here for that, so, anyways.
the construction entrance piece is a part of the LDA. So the plan set it shows the construction entrance location on the LDA plan set. So, I mean, besides, showing a permit letter, I mean, we have that with the county as well as the, letter with the Corps. But there's no wetlands on site.
I didn't know what the piece was about the concrete fence.
No,
What
I
is it?
don't understand that.
Is it in the PD text? There has to be a concrete wall?
Not that I recall, I do remember seeing that it stated that there was a minimum of at least a 15-foot buffer on the rear, and then it had 0 setbacks on adjacent sides.
Okay. All right. So we've got our people that's in opposition, already came forward, spoke. Do we have anybody that's in favor? Have I already asked that question? Right, we got anybody in favor of this project? Step forward, please.
I'd like to just say one more thing if I could. So I just want to make sure, we're here for the site plan. I know everybody's aware of that. What's in the zoning related to, the use and everything like that, it's a permitted use in the zoning. We fully meet all the guidelines laid out in the zoning as well as the ordinance. And so for that, I'd like to request your approval as presented.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lemons, I think nobody has an issue with Parker's being
Yes, sir.
there. I think the issue is, and I don't know why this happens, it seems like to me, and I've been doing this for a long time, it seems like to me, especially when developers come from Atlanta, they just do willy-nilly whatever they want. And I don't know that it was done. I find it hard to believe that that's on 17 and that it gets shut down immediately. Everything may have been done correctly. But it's always amazing to me how developers can come from Atlanta and do what they're being accused of, and then if we go to Atlanta to do something, we get raked over the coals. We get treated like outsiders, literally.
Yeah.
And I've lived in Georgia as long as they have, but we literally get raked over the coals. And so I think, like I said, what you're doing, Mr. Lemmings, is not the issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The only thing I'm concerned about the Parkers, and I think Mr. Parker would do it no issue whatsoever, is I would like to make some attempt to protect the people that live in Powers Landing.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we can't stop this development from going there. It's zoned for this, but we can make the appropriate choices in protecting our neighbors.
Right.
Say that again, Missy?
Nothing, sorry,
Okay.
I'm talking to myself.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, they do have a type A 20-foot buffer in the
Yes, sir.
back there, but also in the zoning on the 707.3, they talk about a wall or fence at least 6 feet in height above the finished grade is a requirement
Okay.
as well, so.
All right. Well, I do know there is a dirt berm that has to be pretty close in that 20-foot buffer. Would that 6-foot wall be on top of that dirt berm?
It wouldn't, I'm not sure what the plan is with the dirt berm. That was left there as some additional backfill material when the development came.
Yes,
So I'd imagine some of the berm's gonna be used, but some may remain. But if the PD speaks to a 6-foot-high fence, we'll be sure to put a 6-foot-high fence there.
Yes, sir. All right, commissioners,
It does
The-
say,
public hearing portion is closed.
good Lord, it's hard to read. So number 8 does say 6-foot-high concrete block fence along parcel B, south boundary, tabby or stucco. So, the south is.
All right, let's put it in our recommendation, just to make sure that it happens, so it doesn't get.
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, any other questions? Okay, we have no questions. Commissioners, we need to make a move. Talk to me.
But I have a question though. Where, oh, I can't see, well, I'll ask you, but, sorry, I was lost Stephanie, but you can, so the PD text does not require a 20-foot type A buffer. It requires a concrete wall with, sorry, just quickly looking.
Is it tabby?
Yeah, concrete tabby or whatever, and a 6-foot landscape buffer. That's on the access drive through the shopping center. So, I mean, I always say this, be careful what we ask for. Does the PD text, if it doesn't require a 20-foot buffer, do they have to put the 20-foot buffer?
No, it's not required, but it is up to their discretion if they want to go above and beyond.
Well, our buffer ordinance requires when commercial is adjacent to residential, they have a type A buffer, or you can do the type A modified, which would be a 12-foot with a wall.
So I think that's my question is does the PD text overrule the current ordinance requirement, or does the ordinance overrule the PD text?
It's whatever is strictest, so the PD text is stricter.
So even though this says a lesser buffer, I believe, it says a concrete wall, they have to take the worst of both.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner New, tell me something.
I don't want to get charged more for my gas.
Let's get a motion made.
If I could make a recommendation, if we could add the language for the concrete wall as a condition as well, that would probably be beneficial.
Can we make it higher than the text says, Mr. Mumford? Could we say, we'd make it 10 feet tall?
I think you can address concerns that the site plan provides in relation to the other properties. And I'm going to do the same thing I suggested with the other application, although it was rezoning. We have Mr. Lemons is here with that. So I think if there's an agreement to that as a condition of this, that's fine. But if they're asking for this to be approved up or down as is, then that's your approach to that one. And I'm not sure if they would agree to that or not, but that's a question for them.
I'd like to just make it approved with the conditions that are outlined in the PD, and then I could take these back to the buyer just to make sure we're fully complying with the zoning. And then I could take this back and I could see what, Parker's is willing to do.
What? That's not.
Ma'am, that's not allowed. Well, but because he's the agent for, yes, ma'am. I've already closed, ma'am, I've already closed the public portion hearing of this. Okay, Mr. Carey?
You waiting on one of us, right?
Oh, the recommended motion, as Jake stated, for conditions as laid out in the plan development text.
Okay.
I move to approve SP-24-35 with the following conditions, which is that in addition to the site plan as presented, if there's any additional requirements as part of the PD text, that those be met before any permits are issued. I so move.
Okay, that's the motion.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Good, I got a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, we got a second.
And Mr. Chairman, as far as clarity and for further discussion on this, do we know what those are that would be superimposed on top of the site plan and brought in from the PD text?
Yes, it would be that wall.
Okay.
You want me to clarify?
No, I just wanted to make sure that staff was good, but I think we're good. And Mr. Lemmings, are you, yeah, we're good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, all in favor? 7-0 is the vote. All right, let's move right along to 2.5 ZM-24-26-11 East Howard Drive rezone.
So this is a rezone for a property at 111 East Howard Drive. And the property is currently zoned R12, one-family residential. So this would be single-family homes. Minimum lot size is 12,000 square feet in the one-family residential. And they are looking to rezone to general residential to allow a duplex on the property. General residential does allow 10 units per acre. It does allow duplexes, townhouses, multifamily. The current property is 0.43 acres, so if they decided to do something different than a duplex and do more units, their max would be 4 units they could do on this size property. And so this is the property, this is I-95, kind of in the middle of the screen, and this is the exit 36 area. So as you can see, it is, all the yellow is R12, one-family residential, and then the red is freeway commercial. So this lot does abut a hotel that's in this area. And here is the aerial. As you can see, I-95 is kind of towards the top left, and this is a hotel that's right behind here in the freeway commercial zoning. So Warren Mason Boulevard, exit 36, is the access to Howard Drive. So this is their proposed plan. As I mentioned, they are proposing to do a duplex. And there was a single-family home on the property that has since been demolished. And this is a rendering of what they're interested in placing on the property. And just a footprint, they're showing our carport and the 2 units. And so these photos were taken today. The photo on the left is standing on Howard Drive looking into the property, so you can see the hotel complex behind, and then there is there's the demolished home, or the home has been demolished. And then this is standing on Howard Drive, the picture on the right, looking towards I-95. So there's a sound barrier at this location. And the surrounding homes are single family. And so these are your possible motions. And I believe Mr. Patel is here this evening. Do you have any questions of him?
All right. Commissioners, do we have any questions of Ms. Leaf? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would the agent owner like to step forward?
Good evening, everybody.
State your name and address for us, please, sir.
Yes. My name is Rajesh Patel. I'm the owner of 111 East Howard Drive. It's a residential lot. And I'd like to make a request to make a duplex from a single-family zoning.
Okay.
And I'm here to answer any question you may have.
The first question I have for you, sir, is your intentions for family to live in that duplex, or is it for rental property, rental purposes?
Rental property.
Okay. And you are aware that every other building around it is single-family residential.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions of Mr. Patel?
No.
Okay, we don't have any questions for Mr. Patel. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to open the public hearing portion. Do we have anybody that would like to step forward in opposition of this? Step forward, ma'am, and state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Kiana Kerr, and I reside at 109 Howard Drive East, directly next door to the demolished property. I'll be brief as I can. I've prayed all day on what to say to you this evening. I just feel I oppose that this duplex be approved for the zoning. I've been in that neighborhood now for 18 years. I've lived in a duplex on Section 8 in 1997. Since then, my family, we've worked very, very hard to accomplish our single-family residential home on Howard Drive to raise our children. Every home over there really belongs to elderly. All my neighbors are elderly. I'm basically maybe like the last of the bunch that raised a family, honestly, on Howard Drive. I don't feel Mr. Patel's vision conforms with what we already have in place in our neighborhood. And I just really don't think that that's gonna, you know, do it. And right now, we have no crime. I've been there, like I said, 18 years, never had any incidents with crime coming in our neighborhood. And I really feel, I don't know, you know, with him renting those units out to multiple families, what that's gonna entail for us. I really don't. So I oppose the motion for this rezoning.
Okay, ma'am, I'd like to tell you, your prayer must have hit the right spot because you did a really good job.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. If you was nervous, we couldn't tell it at all. You did really good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, anyone else like to step forward in opposition? State your name and your address, please.
It's Michael Mock at 200 East Howard Drive.
Okay.
I'm opposed to it as well. I just think it just is not a right fit for this neighborhood. And that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else like to step forward in opposition?
I'm Mary Gibbs at 175 Glendale, 62-year resident of this neighborhood. I just don't think it's a, multifamily is not the place for this particular piece of property. And I'm voicing my opinion because there was a yellow sign and we have an opportunity to speak. And I live at 175 and I did not have an opportunity to speak for a 174 that now has a 20-foot chlorine tank that's directly by the ditch that goes to the marsh. So please take it to heart. I don't think this is, I'm not against housing and I'm not against the resident. I just think multi-housing unit or multi-family housing unit at this resident is not a fit, it's too small of a lot.
Ms. Gibbs, it was Ms. Gibbs, correct?
Yes.
Your address again?
175 Glendale Circle.
You're a school teacher?
I have been.
You have been. I think you taught my son.
Probably.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Retired.
Satilla Marsh, yes, ma'am. All right, any other people that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Jim Robertson. I live at 108 East Howard Drive, right down the street, across the street from the property in question here. There was a house there too long ago that caught fire, and it wasn't burnt down, but they decided to tear it down, and so I don't think there's enough. It's a very short section right there with the houses that they're wanting to put that there. There's there's like, what, I think 4 houses there. And there's gonna be a space problem for vehicles, these duplexes. And I'm an old Vietnam vet, I don't like noise at night. So, that being said, I'll oppose.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is Balber Reyes. I live at 113 Howard Drive East, which is right next to the property in question. I've been living there for about now 12 years now, and I've had great times in that neighborhood, and it's a peaceful neighborhood as well. And in my opinion, having a duplex is just not the neighborhood's vibe of it, because I know many of these neighbors here, and we've all had peace and quiet, and we've all known each other and bonded and had great friendships. My main concern is that having two multi-families within that property is like, it's too small, and I feel like since there's like no fence between those two properties, they might just, like be in our yard, or they might just not respect the rules, like noise, they might just not respect any like neighbors' rules or like noise rules as well. And I just feel like it's too small for a duplex to be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You did a great job. All right, anyone else like to speak in opposition? We're counting down. All right, come on, sir. State your name and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Joe Duran Martinez. I live in 164 Glendale Circle, and I agree with those gentlemen. The place is too small for a duplex. I have kids. My kids like to drive the bicycles in the afternoons. We want to keep the neighborhood quiet for the single families, if we can.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, anyone else like to speak in opposition? All right, could I get, seeing none, hearing none, could I get anyone that would like to speak in favor of this to step forward? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we're going to close the public hearing portion. Ms. Leaf, could we have the motions back up, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, commissioners. One thing that I would like to say personally is I certainly, in my neighborhood, which if I lived in a neighborhood, I would not want this to happen to me. With that being said, let's have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend denial of ZM-24-26. And
I'll second it.
Okay, perfect. All right, I got a motion and a second. All in favor of denial of ZM-24-26, 111 East Howard Drive rezone. All in favor? The vote is 7-0. All right, let's move right along. 2.6, ZM-24-27, 3078 Highway 17 South rezone. I think this is for the truck wash, isn't it?
Yes, sir,
Yes.
it is. Yes.
Okay.
So both this application and the next application, which is a conditional use permit, are companion applications. So this first one is a request to rezone the property. It's about 9-acre site. This is at exit 29 next to the Flying J and the Denny's. So the property is currently zoned freeway commercial, and they are requesting to rezone to highway commercial. And the reason for that is a standalone car wash is not allowed under freeway commercial. So they are requesting to rezone highway commercial in order to apply for the conditional use permit for a car wash. And so, as the chairman stated, this is actually a semi-truck wash. The wash would not be for passenger vehicles, it's just for semis. And so the CUP is next on the agenda, but this one is just for the rezone. And this is the property here. So this is I-95, exit 29. All the red is the freeway commercial. This is the Flying J. They will share an access. They do have the right to share this private access easement into this property, so they won't have an additional, they're not proposing additional access onto Highway 17. They'll share that access easement. It is an aerial view of the property. And just to note, so the surrounding properties, so behind the property, these lots are all accessed off of Blythe Island Highway. And everything here is highway commercial, except for this one manufactured home parcel right here, this M20. So that is adjacent to the property, but everything else is highway commercial. So survey of the property. And then this is their proposed plan for the truck wash. And they have submitted a stacking plan, and this is more pertinent really for the conditional use permit, but I'll kind of go through this now. So what we did ask them to do, because there was a concern about if there is a backup in the wash, we don't want trucks stacking out into Highway 17 and impeding traffic there. So they did submit a plan that shows, I think it's 20 trucks that are shown in this circle that they could fit at one time waiting in the wash. And so just so that you can see coming in off of the access road, kind of circling around, and they're showing a detention pond in the center. And also just a note, they are not proposing any overnight truck parking, so it would just be for vehicles or trucks that are going through the wash. And these are your possible motions. And Brian Braun from Advanced Engineering Services is here this evening, if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right, any questions from Ms. Leaf?
I was just going to ask. Thank you. I was just going to ask, so there's a similar business on the opposite side of 95 currently.
Oh, by the Loves, is that? Mm-hmm.
All right, commissioners. For some strange reason, we just can't get rid of businesses that have something to do with semi-trucks on exit 29. We can thank our forefathers for that. All right. Thank you, Ms. Leaf.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brian Braun, talk to us.
Good evening, Commissioners. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir.
I'm Brian Braun with Advanced Engineering Services at 110 Tommy Stallnaker Drive, Warner Robins, Georgia. As the agent to South Brunswick Crossing LLC, I'm here to request the rezoning of the address of 3078 Highway 17, parcel 0323656, from freeway commercial to highway commercial for the purpose of a truck wash. This facility will be designated to address the growing demands for professional truck washing services in our area while aligning with our community standards and environmental regulations. Our proposed facility will include an automated truck wash bay, associated parking and infrastructure. Some project highlights, just so you know where we're at. We did obtain a utility availability letter for our estimated flows. Just some numbers, just so you know. This thing has the capacity to do about 100 trucks a day, 150 trucks a day at high speeds, at 100 gallons per day. So that's 15,000 gallons a day of water. So we do have that approval letter from JW SC. It will have a reclaim system. We spoke to them about that, so it does recycle water. It does wash a truck in about 5 minutes, if you wanted to know that. No vacuums for the trucks. It does have a washout area that you'll see on the screen. That'll be like a wand wash, so they can get some of the mud and some of the bigger debris out off their truck before entering the conveyor belt for the wash. We do have employee parking, no truck parking, no overnight parking. That's what the travel centers are for, adjacent to us. We did have discussions with Joseph at Georgia DOT. He's reviewed our access. He has no issues with our access. We have a shared access agreement as previously stated, with the travel center next to us. There is a small wetland, as you can see on the screen. We have no plans to disturb that wetland, and we do have an Army Corps approval letter in our file as well. Our end use does conform to the 2023 comprehensive plan as a regional center. The intersection currently has several travel centers and other end uses that support that regional gateway. It's characterized as a regional character. Our goal is to provide efficient, environmentally friendly service that supports the trucking and logistics industry, which is vital to our economy. We believe this project will serve as a valuable resource to the community while respecting local guidelines and priorities. Welcome to answer any questions.
What's the hours of operation for something like this? Or do you know?
There's gonna be like 12 hours, like a normal car wash would be, to my knowledge. It's just,
It's not a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week deal?
not to my knowledge. I can verify that, but I don't have that in front of me. To my knowledge, it was not going to be.
All right, I got a question if everybody else has asked. Outside of the concrete pad, the little oval, looks like the racetrack pad?
Yes, sir.
Outside of that, you're not gonna clear cut that timber, and, I mean, you're gonna leave that forested, so there is some cover, so when we go by this on 17, we don't have to see the trucks getting washed out there?
Obviously, the stuff in front of 17 will be disturbed, but the stuff behind it, no, sir. We won't be disturbing the wetland at all, the triangle portion over there to the, I guess that's the west on the page. Obviously, I don't know if DOT, to my knowledge, there's no trees in the right of way when I rode by there several times.
Yes, sir.
That's been pretty cleared up. There is a billboard that's already present on there, that's already had some clearing done, probably for that billboard in the past. I'm sure they got some visibility restrictions or something, so.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna open the public hearing portion to this. ZM-24-27, 3078 Highway 17 South rezone. Do I have anyone that would like to speak in opposition? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Do I have anyone that would like to step forward in favor of this? All right, hearing none, seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing portion. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval of ZM-24-27, 3078 Highway 17 South rezone as submitted.
All right, I got a motion, I need a second.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All right, all in favor? 7-0. All right, we're gonna move right along. 2.7, CUP-24-11. That is 3078 Highway 17 South, conditional use permit.
So there's no further slides with this. I went through the presentation with the rezone, so this is just the conditional use permit for the truck wash.
Yes, ma'am.
And so here are your possible motions, and Mr. Braun is here for this one as well.
All right. I really don't think we need to talk to Mr. Braun at this time, do we? Let's go right into the public hearing portion. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this conditional use permit, please step forward. All right, hearing none, seeing none, I'm going to transfer over to anyone that would like to speak in favor of this conditional use permit. Please step forward. All right, hearing none, seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing portion. Commissioners, let's
Mr.
get
Chairman,
this
I have
done.
a question for Mr. Braun.
Yes, sir.
And this is, I guess, about the size of the vehicles that you allow in there. I know some people with like 110 Dodge dualies and things like that. I guess this wouldn't be an option for them to go through. They don't fit in a regular car wash.
Yes, sir, that's a great question. I have not thought about that, to be honest with you. I just know it's called big rig, so I assume it's all for tractor trailers.
Tractor trailer. Put a little Rain-X on it and tire shine and push them on through.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
I like where you're going. My truck's got to lift it as well, and doesn't quite fit, so.
All right, commissioners, let's make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend approval of CUP 24-11 with the condition that the conditional use permit is only valid if the rezone application is approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Second that.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All in favor? The vote is 7-0. All right, moving, this is the last item on the agenda, actually, 2.8 ZM-24-28, 110 Lloyd Lane rezone. This property is located at the Golden Isle Speedway, and they want a surface mine permit.
Yes, sir. So this says, as you've seen with some other applications, so anytime they do want to get a state mining permit, they are required to have verification that the zoning allows it. So this was a situation where the property zoned planned development and surface mining was not a permitted, not specifically stated as a permitted use. So they are requesting an amendment to the PD to add that in. So this property is adjacent to the racetrack. So this is at Old Post Road, Highway 82. The railroad is behind the property. And the address is Lloyd Lane. So here's this where the star is located. So you've got the rail line back here. This is Highway 82, which is the white down here. So this is all zone plan development, and the surrounding is forest agricultural. And forest agricultural does allow surface mining as a permitted use. So any of these adjacent properties, could be doing this as a permitted use. And here's just an aerial view of the property. And so the parcel is this one back here where you see the large pond. And this is their plan they submitted. And then they do have a wetland delineation. And this is, so they did submit that as well. And these are your possible motions. And I will also note the state's required development of regional impact is required for any surface mine, and they have gone through that process. The report was issued, so they're able to move forward with our process and move forward to the Board of Commissioners as well. And Austin Chalmers from Robert Civil Engineering is here for this application tonight. Thank you.
All right. Is anyone here from the Golden Isle Speedway? Please step forward.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Sir, before you get started, you should have slipped your card in that guy's pocket that just left. He's gonna need a ton of dirt where he's gonna build a car wash. I promise. That's what I do for a living. I know that piece of property very well. I was raised in that area.
Okay.
Thousands and thousands of loads, I promise you.
Gentleman back there's got all the dirt he needs, so I'll make sure they get in touch with him. My name's Austin with Robert Civil Engineering. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to us, listen to our case this evening. We're just looking for an amendment to the PD text. We added one item to the PD text. Other than that, we left it exactly the same as it was. My client just is looking to dig a pond on his parcel and sell some of the dirt, so nothing complicated or crazy about it. I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any questions? Okay.
You said he wants to build a pond.
Yes, ma'am.
There's already two on it.
He's looking to expand the size of the pond. Thank you for correcting me. So
Okay.
I believe the purpose of the pond, expanding the size of the pond is for his children and grandchildren to be able to fish. But he owns most of the adjacent parcels, so I think this will just be a recreation area for his family.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and I would like to remind all the commissioners here, since this is what I know, we can't build anything in Glenn County, and we can't start a construction job, and we can't finish a construction job without dirt. We have to have it. So it's something that's needed in our county, and you can't have enough surface mine permits to provide all the dirt that we need in Glenn County. So, all right, commissioners.
It's public hearing.
Oh, we gotta have a public hearing? All right, everybody that would like to, anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this surface mine permit, please step forward. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I'm going to go to anyone that would like to step forward in favor of this surface mine permit. Please step forward. You don't have to, sir. We understand. You welcome to. Okay. All right. We need a motion on ZM-24-28, 110 Lloyd Lane rezone.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve ZM-24-28, 110 Lloyd Lane rezone.
All right, I got a motion, and I need a second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, all in favor? The vote is 7-0. All right, Ms. Leaf, the last item on our agenda, we need to defer, correct?
I shall defer to county attorney on this
That's
one.
correct.
All right. Let's get one of our commissioners to give us a motion to defer TA-24-1. That's a county-initiated text amendment. All right, I'll make the motion to defer TA-24-1.
I'll second.
All right, do we need to say when we're going to defer it to?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's defer it to March 4th. Is that, okay, Mr.
It is.
Attorney? All right, let's defer it to March 4th, 2025, and that is deferral of TA-24-1. Per, I guess I should say per county request, maybe?
Correct.
All right,
Motion to adjourn?
I need a second on that.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second, all in favor? 7-0. All right, now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, so adjourn.